See that man? The black guy there in the middle? His name is Mobutu. He was the African leader who collaborated with the US and Belgium to capture and arrest one of the most vibrant Pan-Africanists, Patrice Lumumba, in 1961, during the early days of independence. Mobutu then sent Lumumba to another power-hungry puppet, Moise Tshombe, who, along with his associates, assassinated Lumumba in the cruelest way you can ever think of.
Tshombe is the murderer of Lumumba, who was the rightful prime minister of the Congo. Tshombe is the man whose forces fought against the United Nations forces and against the United States, and despite this criminal past of Tshombe, now the United States is backing Tshombe, who has hired South African mercenaries who are hired killers to disrupt the peaceful efforts of the freedom fighters from Stanleyville to make the type of country there that they want. And it is this American support of Tshombe, actually, that's at the root of the whole problem.
And this man you see is Blaise Compaoré, the man who orchestrated the assassination of his friend and military leader of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara. He went on to lead the country for almost 3 decades, returning it to colonial exploitation.
La vérité judiciaire vient nous édifier sur les responsabilités individuelles du président Compaoré, du général Diendéré et autres sur l'assassinat prémédité du capitaine Sankara et de ses collaborateurs.
Here is Emmanuel Bojol, who, under the direction of Ayadema Gnassingbé, led the coup that overthrew and killed Sylvanus Olympio of Togo. Ayadema went on to rule Togo for 38 years. What about Moussa Traoré, who ousted the first elected president of Mali, Modibo Keïta, and sent him to prison where he later died? Then there is Jean Bedel Bokassa, who overthrew his cousin David Dacko, the first president of the Central African Republic, and later made himself emperor. This list of betrayers and traitors doesn't stop here. There is also Inocencio Kani, who killed Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau, and many others. There is a West African adage among the Yoruba that goes, "If the death within doesn't kill one, the one from outside won't." This means that if you have no enemies or betrayals within your home or circle, it will be difficult for enemies from outside to get to you. It was through these selfish, self-centered, and power-hungry individuals that the West was able to get rid of post-independence Pan-Africanists and anti-colonialists, continuing the cycle of exploitation. In this video, we will look at the events and activities of how 3 of these traitors betrayed and sold their countries to Western exploitation while compounding the cycle of bad leadership and poverty for decades. Compaoré, who was sentenced to life imprisonment by a Burkina Faso court in 2022 for the murder of Thomas Sankara. Here's how their story began. Compaoré first met Thomas Sankara in a military training camp in Morocco in 1976, and the two became close friends. In 1981, Compaoré was appointed head of the National Commando Training Center at Pau. Meanwhile, his friend Thomas Sankara resigned from his government post in 1982 to protest policy decisions and became deeply involved in national politics. A year later, during a power struggle that led to Sankara's imprisonment, Compaoré rallied the commando unit at Pau. With assistance from Ghana and Libya, he launched a coup on August 4, 1983, that made Sankara the head of state, alongside 2 other military commanders. Compaoré, who initially seemed modest and humble, was willing to leave the public affairs of politics to the more dynamic Sankara and the other 2 co-architects in 1984. However, this changed in 1987 when conflicts over security and strategic concerns arose. By this time, Sankara's regime was already facing significant challenges, particularly from the elite. The city of Ouagadougou was flooded with hateful flyers distributed by unions and student organizations, with whom Sankara had open clashes. Determined to root out corruption, Sankara established public courts that prosecuted nearly 1,000 government officials and civil workers for misusing and stealing public funds. Many lost their jobs, and the country's elite grew to despise Sankara's bold reforms. These tensions culminated in an October 15, 1987 coup led by Compaoré, Zongo, and Lingani, which resulted in the assassination of Sankara and installed Compaoré as president. The day before his assassination, Sankara spent most of the night composing a speech in hopes of bridging the ideological divides within his government. He had called for a meeting of some of his officials at the national headquarters to discuss the way forward, but it turned out to be his last meeting. Compaoré denied involvement in the assassination of Sankara and others, claiming he was at home and very ill at the time. However, all evidence pointed to him as the one who ordered Sankara's killing. In April 2022, a Burkina Faso court handed Compaoré a life sentence in absentia for the assassination of Thomas Sankara and 12 others. The prosecution stated that Sankara was lured to his death at a meeting of the ruling National Revolutionary Council. Ballistics experts testified during the trial that Sankara was shot in the chest at least 7 times. Sankara's widow, Mariam Sankara, who attended the trial throughout, said the verdict represented justice and truth after a 35-year wait.
I think that now the people of Burkina Faso and the public opinion know who Thomas Sankara is, who is the man, who is the politician, what he did, what the people who assassinated him want. From that point of view, I am relieved because we know who he is.
In a letter read out to the media by the Burkina Faso government spokesman in July 2022, Blaise Compaoré asked the family of Thomas Sankara and the Burkinabe people for forgiveness for all the crimes committed under his rule. Compaoré said, "I ask the Burkinabe people for forgiveness for all the acts I may have committed during my tenure, and especially the family of my brother and friend Thomas Sankara. I take responsibility for and regret from the bottom of my heart all the suffering and tragedies experienced by all victims during my terms as leader of the country, and ask their families to grant me their forgiveness."